All right, guys, we got a great breakdown here of Jeffery Sachs breaking down the U.S. NATO how the U.S. and NATO provoked war in Ukraine, not the other way around. It wasn't Russia that invaded Ukraine, the fake entity, but in a way they provoked Russia to do so. And this is probably the best breakdown I've seen all over the internet, man. Let's get right into it.
Let me just explain in 2 minutes the Ukraine war. This is not an attack by Putin on Ukraine in the way that we are told every day. This started in 1990. James Baker III, our Secretary of State, said to Mikhail Gorbachev, NATO will not move 1 inch eastward if you agree to German unification. The U.S. then cheated on this, already starting in 1994, when Clinton signed off on a plan to expand NATO all the way to Ukraine. This is when the so-called neocons took power. The expansion of NATO started in 1999 with Poland, Hungary, and Czech Republic. Then the U.S. led the bombing of Serbia in 1999. That was a use of NATO to bomb a European capital, Belgrade, 78 straight days to break the country apart. The Russians didn't like that very much. But even Putin started out pro-European, pro-American, actually asked maybe we should join NATO when there was still the idea of some kind of mutually respectful relationship. 9/11 came, then came Afghanistan, and the Russians said, yeah, we'll support you, we understand, to root out terror. In 2002, the United States unilaterally walked out of the anti-ballistic missile treaty. What it did was trigger the U.S. putting in missile systems in Eastern Europe that Russia views as a dire, direct threat to national security by making possible a decapitation strike of missiles that are a few minutes away from Moscow. In 2004-05, we engaged in a soft regime change operation in Ukraine, the so-called First Color Revolution. But in 2009, Yanukovych won the election, and he became president in 2010 on the basis of neutrality for Ukraine. So in February 22nd, 2014, the United States participated actively in the overthrow of Yanukovych. They intercepted a really ugly call between Victoria Nuland and the U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, Jeffrey Sachs, who's a senior State Department official till today. And they talked about regime change. So they made the new government. The U.S. then said, okay, now NATO's really going to enlarge. And Putin kept saying, stop. You promised no NATO enlargement. Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Bulgaria, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, 7 more countries in the not 1 inch eastward. On December 15th, 2021, Putin put on the table a draft Russia-U.S. security agreement. The basis of it is no NATO enlargement. The special military operation started, and 5 days later, Zelensky says, okay, neutrality. And then the United States and Britain said, no way. You guys fight on. We got your back. We don't have your front. You're all going to die. But we got your back. That's 600,000 deaths now of Ukrainians since Boris Johnson flew to Kyiv to tell them to be brave. Absolutely ghastly. We have to understand we're not dealing with, as we're told every day, with this madman like Hitler. This is complete bogus, fake history that is a purely PR narrative of the U.S. government. We're playing games here. So, God forbid a nuclear power comes at us. I don't know what's going to happen. But we came at them.
Real talk, man. Real talk. And yeah, Russia, Putin was attempting to join NATO and have like a good relationship with the United States, but the military industrial complex said no. We need you as an enemy in Europe to eventually start this war between you and Ukraine, where you guys, blow each other up to smithereens. And Putin expressed this. He did an interview with Tucker Carlson, if you guys don't remember. He's an idiot to help this country. He tells Tucker, like, I was trying to have a good relationship with these people, man, but they kept expanding NATO, right? And they were isolating Russia. And, he literally had no choice but to do what he had to do. And it's cost over 1 million plus lives. And now, don't get it twisted, though. Putin he's dominating that entire conflict, right? And anyone that says Trump could call in and stop, Trump in the West have zero leverage when it comes to Ukraine. They're going to have to consolidate some land. They have zero leverage. Russia's literally winning this war by a long shot. Okay. It's like for every one Russian that dies, there's 6 Ukrainians. They are slaughtering these people like some sick animals, right? Slaughtering over 1 million plus people. Being slaughtered, which is honestly being underreported, because most people don't know that that's the literal number of people that have died.
Putin is not someone who does a lot of interviews. Well, really any interviews. He hasn't done an interview in almost 4 years. He's not good at explaining himself, I didn't think. He's smart.
Check it out.
No question about that. But he's clearly spending a lot of time in a world where he doesn't have to explain himself. So I'm sort of piecing, that's one of the reasons I'm having trouble thinking about the interview as a whole, because he didn't sort of lay out his case very coherently, though if you listen carefully, and we were there for a long time talking to him, a couple of things rose to the surface. One, he's very wounded, and I suggest this, but of course he denied it, but it's obvious. He's very wounded by the rejection of the West. The United States doesn't like Russia. The U.S. government doesn't like Russia. I think like a lot of Russians, he expected the end of the Cold War would be sort of Russia's invitation into Europe, or sort of into Europe, because it is a European country that's half in Asia. But there's a lot that's European about it, and if you come to Moscow, it's a very European city. You see it, and you can feel it culturally. And the West rejected Russia. And maybe, I'm not even taking sides in this. Maybe they were good reasons. I don't know what they would be. But in case the West was determined not to be allied with Russia, that's very obvious. That's the whole point of NATO, I guess, is to contain Russia. And Putin is wounded by this. He's very upset about it. His eyes flashed when we talked about that, as we did, for probably over an hour. He didn't have a coherent theory that he was willing to tell me anyway as to why that is. Russia's not an expansionist power. Sorry. You're not supposed to say that, because all the Victoria Nulands and all the liars and ideologues who run the State Department want to make him into this, Hitler, Imperial Japan. But the truth is that that's just false. It's just stupid, actually. You have to be an idiot to think that. Russia's too big already. It's the biggest landmass in the world. They only have 150 million people. Effectively.
Yeah, so, there's been a long history of Putin being rejected by the West and Europe, and we know why. It's the globalists and Russia being a big threat. It's the largest landmass in the world, 150 plus million people, really powerful, strong guys. They've kicked oligarchs who are tied to certain individuals who are tied to, can't say the word here, but, you know what I'm talking about. So, and Putin was just like, he was rejected by the, he felt rejected by the West, and all Putin really wants to do is have a good relationship with everyone. But the globalists, the military-industrial complex, the people that are the puppet, the people that are, egging these wars on, they're not allowing him to do so. So he had no choice but to take back what was formerly, actually Russian territory. A lot of people in Ukraine are obviously ethnically Russian, and they're connected more to Russia than Ukraine. And so Putin wants to rejuvenate or reassemble the lost land from World War II, and he's winning. I mean, it's just a matter of time before they can't fund the war anymore, and the Ukrainians are they're getting slaughtered. It's very sad when you see what's going on in there. And now they're forcing Putin to align himself with Iran, with China, with North Korea. There's 10,000 North Korean troops in Russia. So we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. I don't think Trump's going to put an end to shit, to be honest with you guys. I think Putin's going to flat out tell him to go fuck himself. Right? Because he can't save you. I mean, what is it? Putin has the upper advantage, guys. He has the leverage. He has bricks. He's isolating the West via bricks. Right? So why the hell does he have to negotiate any territory that he's already gained in Ukraine? That doesn't make any sense.